principle is a basis in public health, where you take a precaution against possibly jeopardising the health of the population or the health of the environment. And for an example, when 20 years ago the National Health and Medical Research Council wanted to take lead out of petrol, there was a huge uproar from the lead industry who were objecting to that. But we said, on the basis of being safe and knowing what we knew about the deleterious effects of lead at all sorts of levels, but particularly in children at low levels from the Port Pirie study, we said we'll take the precautionary principle and drop it down quite significantly in terms of what is acceptable in children's blood.
And nobody's regretted that?
Not at all, not at all. It's been a great success and been followed in most countries of the world now, of course. Yeah.
What about in this case of the ship? How does it apply?
Well, in the case of the ship, don't risk. We don't know what the outcomes would be. The levels probably are not going to be as huge as they were in terms of lead and petrol. But if it gets into the food chain via fish and so on, it gets concentrated. We don't know. And I mean, if we don't know, we shouldn't allow it to happen.
Well, they said that all the toxic items had been removed. We were told that all the items containing polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, had been removed, and we were assured that the paint on the ship was environmentally friendly, green, non-toxic paint. That is the state government. Minister for Lands Tony Kelly assured us on television that this was the case, and also local groups here on the Central Coast supporting the scuttling. Well, the lead story. Well, we were assured there was no lead. Tony Kelly went on television and told us all that this was a green ship with different paints. The first day, our expert marine engineer Werner Hoyt walked onto the vessel. On a visual inspection, he identified that the interior paint was red lead paint. And during the hearing, it was estimated there was 23,000 square metres of lead paint on the ship. Yes, it has. The judge ordered the state government to go and test the paint, and the results were that some of the paint's up to 40% lead content in that paint, 28% the average. So it's estimated there's between 750 kilos and 2.3 tonnes of lead in the paint. That will be scuttled with the ship, as he only ordered the removal of exfoliating lead paint.
Do you have that report? Did you get a copy of it?
Oh yes, I do have a copy of it here. So this was done by CTI consultants during the hearing.
This is the lead report?
Yes, the lead paint survey done in July. During the hearing, they tested all the paint with an X-ray machine, and that's how they estimated the lead content in the paint and identified which areas had lead paint. Well, it was found that they were wrong, yes.
Did they admit it?
Yes, they did. And, you know, thousands of children swim at the beach down here every year, and we've got whales that come in here and use the bay. So it's a really special area, and we don't think it's acceptable to place any amount of lead or PCBs in this environment.
Why take a risk when you don't know what the size of the risk is? Why do anything that will put human health or the health of the environment in jeopardy when you don't really know?
There will be a lot of plastics remaining on this ship. The proponents of this scheme are insisting that there won't be any plastics on board, but we know that there is still a lot of foam insulation in the walls and in the ceilings. It's polystyrene and or polyurethane, and it will be going down with the ship. And that's admitted to in the final report by the Commonwealth Government. Look, we're very worried about the complacency of the people who are the proponents of this scheme. They don't seem to feel that there will be release of any pollutants, or any sort of pollutants, in their lifetime. Now, we know this to be totally different because the fact that the ship that's been scuttled off Geelong, Victoria, the HMAS Canberra, is a sister ship of the Adelaide, and it is breaking up as we speak.
Prematurely?
My word, very rapidly. Two very good reasons. One is a large swell that's moving the hull and causing flexing. Second, we have a giant battery created by two dissimilar metals, aluminium superstructure and a steel hull. The two of them in electrolyte, which in this case is seawater, a perfect electrolyte, is causing massive electrolytic corrosion. Those two metals are not isolated from each other.
So they're breaking apart, pushing apart.
Exactly, they're corroding very quickly. The aluminium is going first, and a classic example of that, I suppose, is the fact that here we have a warning to the divers on the Parks Victoria website to say that the aluminium aircraft hangar has already separated from the ship and is moving 150 metres horizontally and 30 metres vertically.
150 millimetres, not metres.
150 millimetres? I'm sorry if I said metres.
Yeah.
Definitely, around about 6 inches in the old term, and that's that long. That's a lot of movement, and they are looking for $30,000 at the moment to remove that from the ship. Even more quickly.
Really?
Why? Well, the Canberra has not been exposed to a swell over 3 metres in the 16 months it has been down. The Adelaide will be exposed to larger swells here. We had a 4 to 5 metre swell here 3 weeks ago.
I suppose when it comes to the precautionary principle, rule number 1, never underestimate the power of the ocean.
Right.
What's become clearly obvious is that the governmental studies done on the effect that the proposed scuttling will have on the beach is completely inadequate.
That's the Worley-Parson one,
That's
it?
the Worley-Parson's review of environmental factors. It's clearly inadequate. So the reason for that being that the governmental report didn't take into consideration wave data collected in Avoca Beach itself. They got their wave data from 35 kilometres away off the northern beaches of Sydney.
Crazy.
Yeah. Secondly, they haven't accurately modelled the way the waves are bending around the ship, or the fraction around the ship, and how that's going to focus on the beach. So just imagine this is the Adelaide here. Okay, this can be an island or a subsurface structure. A wave will come across the top, right? And because it's interacting with the ship, it'll bend. You can see how it bends around. You get basically the full force of 2 waves. And how that's going to focus on the beach, and how that's going to affect beach erosion and beach alignment.
That could be like a grinding effect.
Yeah, well, a scouring effect, if you like. Yeah. And finally, they haven't used wave data obtained over a long enough period of time. For example, they need to take into account large storm events like the storms of 1974. That's just missing completely, that sort of data.
And we know we're going to face extreme weather in the future.
Exactly.
We just had examples of it.
And most climatologists right now are saying that the period of extreme weather we're experiencing now is very similar to 1974. So we can expect to see more storms like that in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so they could really move this ship around. Could they?
Well, definitely. I mean, it's going to be subject to the full force of the ocean.
Well, we'll certainly be seeing pollution washed up on the beach, and if we go for a dive, we'll see it on the floor of the bay. But what's even more tangible, that every diving day there will be up to 6 small boats moored over the top of that ship. And if you think back to how close that yellow buoy was marking the Adelaide, we will be reminded every day that in our bay we have the grave of the HMAS Adelaide. And we don't want to be known as the graveyard of the Adelaide.